Why do you suppose I just hurled a chair at your head, Neiman?
I don't know.
Sure you do.
The tempo?
Were you rushing or were you dragging?
I don't know.
Start counting.
5, 6, 7.
In 4, damn it! Look at me!
1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3.
Now, was I rushing or was I dragging?
I don't know.
Count again.
1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Rushing or dragging?
Rushing.
So you do know the difference!
There are no two words in the English language more harmful than rock hard Viggo Mortensen, yes. This is Whiplash Spoilers.
Nice. My two favorite words.
Hyphenated rock hard Viggo Mortensen, yes, is all hyphenated as well. But welcome to Spoilers. I'm your host, Pappy. We'll introduce the other host here with an opening question. Do you play any instruments? And if you could play any instrument, what would it be? We'll go not eastest to westest, not northest to southest. We'll go least recent host to most recent host. Stevie, I have you on the schneid. It's been a long time since you've hosted.
I had a newborn, man.
I think it was The Nightmare Before Christmas, going way back to the end of Spooky Spoilers.
That's a long time ago.
What about instruments? Do you play the drums? Would you play the drums?
No, because I don't think my brain could work it that well. I don't think my brain's just set up that way. Hey, this is Stevie. I play the piano. I'm pretty decent at that. You know that, Pap.
Mm-hmm.
I'm decent with the ukulele. I know my way around guitars. I know enough. But if I had to learn an instrument, like really go at it, I would try my hardest to learn how to thrash like James Hetfield from Metallica.
Guitar guy.
Yeah, just his like specific style of thrash though. Like his rhythm guitar would be so much fun and painful and infuriating to learn, but I think it would ultimately be worth it.
Korey, I have you as the next most recent host, or next least recent host. Battlefield Earth, a Spoilers classic, I dare say.
I disagree. Hi, this is Korey, Kylo Ren Memes. I'm recording out of Simi Valley, California. There was a time when I was very much a guitar man, when I was very musically inclined for the younger part of my life, my teenage years and 20s. I went for many years without even touching a guitar, so I can't really say I play guitar anymore. I've kind of like left that aside, and a lot of it has to do with like that those years of my life have kind of like a negative place in my mind, like a lot of bad memories with that time. So it's not really my thing anymore. Like I've kind of bounced around with like creative outlets, and music was definitely one of them for a while. I was in a band in high school called Gimli's Sack. So
right.
That was a lot of fun.
We went a reunion tour.
But, you know, I dabbled in all stringed instruments at the time, so I could play a little bit of all strings back then. Now I have a guitar. I bought one like 2 years ago. I was like, okay, maybe I can pick it up again. And I think I've played it once. So I just don't really have the time. I'll say this, being a jazz drummer seems like a huge fucking pain in the ass.
Mm-hmm.
But that's all I got.
Electric or acoustic guitar, though?
You know, I like playing a classical guitar with nylon strings, but I like playing it like an electric guitar.
There you go.
Brett, are you an axe man?
I have almost no musical ability. And my family, 4 of us got 0, and my brother got some. Like, my brother can, figure things out on the piano, and he played guitar in college and stuff, but I have played the trumpet, I have played the piano. I have played the guitar very, very poorly. And I played the bass. And I was never really good. I was okay at the piano. I took it at Concord. And if I would have kept doing the lessons, maybe I would still play. But it's not easy for me. It's just, I can't do two hands at one time. It's hard for me. See, guitar was really hard. I have like a legendary story in college, in my beginner guitar class, but I don't really feel like telling that right now. Maybe
you have to tell it now.
It's legendary.
Oh my gosh. My parents love this story so much. They ask me to tell it every few years and they just laugh. So, okay. I guess I'll tell it. Is that all right, Korey?
It's fine with me.
Okay. All right. So I don't have any musical ability. I took intro to guitar at IU. IU's like literally the best public music school in the country. It's right up there with some of the programs with like Juilliard and stuff like that too. So that wasn't me. So my teacher, his name was Ramses Lopez, and he was the biggest dick I've ever met in my entire life. Couldn't stand him. He was so mean.
This sounds very familiar, but go on.
Yeah.
What, like you've heard it, or this is how most guitar teachers are?
Were you rushing or dragging?
Oh, yeah. No, the guy wasn't like that. If he would have slapped me, he would have got the... Never mind.
We know.
I wasn't like
I
that.
would have sucked his dick.
I was definitely dragging. So I was really bad. I didn't practice. We had to play Imagine for our final. And it was like 3 lines. And we started, he said, play the first line. I was in there alone with him. And I'm like, bah, 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 bah. I'm like, it's like so bad. He's like,
why were you playing Smoke on the Water when you're supposed to be
yeah.
playing Imagine?
I might as well have, because I couldn't play the guitar. I couldn't play Imagine. He goes, why don't you play line 3? And I looked at him, I said, I think you and I both know I can't play line 3. And he goes, I'm going to give you a B minus, and you should probably not take any more guitar class. I said, deal, and I got up and left.
He was testing you.
No.
If you were dedicated, you wouldn't have quit.
B minus was fine. I thought I was going to get an F.
That's pretty generous, you know? It's like we came to an understanding here, right?
Yeah. I'll give you a B. I don't ever want to see you again.
Yeah, he was a huge dick, but he did do me a solid. I was just really bad. And I learned... I had a nice, like, I don't know, Takamine, whatever you want to call it, guitar. I bought it in the summer. And yeah, just didn't have it. Just didn't have it. Don't got it.
You don't got it, kid.
And to answer your second question, although my favorite sounding instrument is the cello, if I could play any instrument, it would be the piano.
That kind of segues into mine. Pappy, I have absolutely no musical ability. None whatsoever. I took piano classes as a kid, and my parents stopped paying for them because all I would do was like talk to the piano teacher. Like I would intentionally stall and like run out the clock because I hated it so much. I took probably the same like piano class at Concord High School that you did, Brett, and we would cheat because you could like record yourself, you know? And then so like what I would do is like when we had a test, the teacher had headphones on and she could like tap into like your piano when it was like your time to like do the test. And so I would cheat and I would like do it until I actually got it right. And I would record it. And then when she would do the test for me, I would hit play sneakily and like pretend like I was playing the piano, but really it would just be the recording of
Hacker
when I had
man,
played it well.
that's amazing.
The thing of it is I cannot handle the pressure. I think playing an instrument in front of someone is like the scariest shit. It's so much scarier than like public speaking for me. I also played the viola, and I was arguably the worst person in Concord High School orchestra history at any instrument. Like,
I don't believe that.
dude, first of all, I never practiced. So, I mean, I had no work ethic towards it. And then I was in the back row, which was bad enough. And I remember our teacher saying, listen, just because you're in the back row doesn't mean you're bad. We sometimes put like strong players in the back row. And there were 3 of us in the back row, and the 2 next to me were fucking sick at the viola. So I know I was stuck in between really 2 good viola players. But if I could play anything...
Drown him out?
Exactly, yeah. But if I could play anything, I've always wanted to play the organ. Because like one of the things that interests me about the organ, Brett, it's like the piano, but it's got all those buttons and knobs and pedals and shit. I want to know what those do.
He layeth on high.
It's a creepy piano.
It's a creepy piano. You can play it at like a hockey game or something, or like a baseball. You know, like the organ's versatile. I think that'd be really cool.
You know, if you can play the piano, you can probably play the organ.
But there's all those buttons and switches. What do those do?
Fire the nuke.
Make like the, kazoo noises and stuff like that.
Sounds
I
amazing.
think the hard part is learning the notes and how to play that. I think the buttons and pedals are the easy part.
No, that's the advanced shit.
Any organ expert will tell you the buttons is the real skill.
The buttons and breaking plates. It's the hardest part.
You got to be in the Schaefer Conservatory of Music to know what those buttons do. But that brings us to the movie at hand, Whiplash. I think this is, according to IMDb and Letterboxd, the best, highest rated movie we've ever spoiled. Number 27 on Letterboxd, number 40 on IMDb. High praise.
Really? Didn't the intern pick some of the top 10 or something?
Oh, Christ's sakes.
He picked like The Graduate. Oh, wait, you might be right. Like 12 Angry Men. Breathless. Yeah. I guess let's start, though, with what the Schaefer Conservatory of Music that I mentioned was. Stevie, what is this Schaefer Conservatory of Music in the world of Whiplash?
If I had to gander, I imagine this is a school you have to try out for, right?
Or get invited.
Well, this is home. You still have to try out. You still have to play a piece. It's like the same way with acting school. And, this is where the cream of the crop for music students have gone. I'm not sure if it's even a real school, or is it just a music school? Do they even have like real class?
Maybe it's supposed to be like they said. It's supposed to be like Juilliard. It's not a real school.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So this is where you either have spent 4 years and you're gonna build a career, which is like 1%, or you've wasted 4 years of money and you're a backup celloist in a third-rate philharmonic somewhere,
Mm-hmm.
And these students are ultra-competitive, and they're all dicks.
One of those students is Andrew Neiman. Korey, can you tell us a little bit about our main character, Miles Teller?
I'm part of Schaefer's top jazz orchestra, which means it's the best in the country, and I'm a core member, so I'll start playing in competitions, and actually I found out I'm the youngest person in the entire band.
Miles Teller, a very young Miles Teller. I think this is before he was Mr. Fantastic in the Fantastic Four movie, and it was definitely before he was Goose Jr. in Top Gun Maverick.
He's not that young. I hate to break it to you.
I think he's the same age as me, and I probably considered myself to be young in 2014.
He's probably 26 or 27 when he made this.
So Miles Teller is a musician. He's a jazz drummer. That's the first thing we see in the movie, him drumming. But Andrew is more dedicated to being a drummer, as we see throughout the film, than most people are to anything that they're passionate about. He has a relentless drive to be one of the all-time great drummers.
But he also has very little social skills, right? Like his dad at one point told him that he needs to work on making eye contact. He's kind of awkward around other people. But you're right, Korey. The opening scene, he's playing the drums. Brett Fletcher, we'll talk about him, but what are some of the head games he starts playing right away? Can you take us through this first scene of the movie when we meet Fletcher?
I mean, kind of. I sent you that video, but I definitely don't have it memorized. He just, I don't know, kind of leaves him wanting more a little bit, and it's just like the very beginning of his manipulation. He sees him playing. He's probably playing to try to catch the attention of Fletcher, but regardless, he's trying to, and it catches Fletcher's attention. He sees him. He likes what he sees, I suppose, but he doesn't really let on.
See, that's one of my problems, too, is like, I don't know what good drumming is. Is it that he's that sick of a drummer, or is it just the fact that he's there practicing at night? Like, what does Fletcher actually see in him?
I think he sees a decent amount of skill. I mean, I think he might see, but also it's just like what he does later. He'll bring somebody in just to either mess with the other people to see if they have it. I mean, can we not all agree that the biggest, besides Fletcher, the biggest douchebag in this movie is Tanner.
The current studio drummer, Tanner.
God, I hate him so much. I want to punch that dude.
It's like what Pappy said about everyone being super competitive, but they are like college kids. And what I see from the other college kids is that they have like regular college kid style relationships with each other in a way that Andrew Neiman does not. Right?
Right.
His dedication is seemingly like consumes all aspects of his life to the point where he has no social life. And part of him wants it, I think, but the majority of him rejects it due to his drive. Again, he wants to be one of the greats. And I think a lot of people here want to pursue music in a big way, but I don't think everyone wants the same thing that Andrew wants in this school. So they're willing to kind of let their lives be somewhat normal.
Like, Ryan has a girlfriend, right? And at one point, Neiman's like looking at him, touching her ear. It's a very weird close-up that we see. Stevie, though, can you take us through where Andrew is at the beginning and kind of how he makes his way up to the studio band? Which, by the way, I really liked that this movie. There's never a scene where like Andrew has a friend and they're like, studio band, that's the top band in the whole school. You know what I mean? Like, the movie like wants you to figure that shit out.
So, I mean, I like how you brought up the head games, like right at the bat, though, Pap, where like Fletcher like walks in and Neiman stops and he's like, "Why'd you quit playing?" And he starts playing again. And he's like, "I didn't tell you to play like that."
No, he says, "I didn't tell you to start playing. I asked why you
stopped playing."
Yeah, exactly. And then he leaves his hat in there or his coat.
Jacket, yeah.
Yeah, to see if, Neiman would still be playing or not, and he wasn't. He obviously failed that test. And in the to start like the movie though with like classes and stuff, he's kind of, what would you say, like in a freshman course, Pap?
They call it the Nassau, I think.
Yeah,
Nassau. Yeah. Which,
hey, I mean, I'm all for the Caribbean, right? I don't know why it's called that, but and is Connolly ahead of him in that class?
Well, dude, the one dude shit talks him. He's like, the band's been bad since you were gone. Neiman sucks.
Yeah, that's like in super competitive environments, I feel like that's really common, which is like, oh, thank God you're back. This dude blows. Like, and it may like make that student look like an asshole, but I think that's like every student in that school, including Neiman.
Like they would all stab someone's back.
110%, yes.
My man, Ryan. Oh, shit. How you feeling, man? It's been too long. It's been too long. Yo, things were hurting with naming on the kids. Come on, man. I mean, if you say so. Yo, good seeing you. Yeah. Good looking good.
Hey, what's up, bro?
How you, Ray?
You have a good weekend?
Yeah, real good.
Yeah?
Yeah. A lot of fun.
Nice. Hey, don't worry about Greg. It's a dick.
Oh, no big deal.
There's that scene where Fletcher comes into that Nassau class and he has the kids play down the line. Is the girl really that bad? Like, I think she's the only female musician in the movie, and Fletcher's like, you're only there because you're cute, basically.
Well, he can't have any women in his group because he has to constantly call everyone a cocksucker and stuff, you know?
Yeah.
How do you think Fletcher's language would be received today?
Ugh.
I think it's an integral part of his character, and I think Damien Chazelle wants us to feel a certain way about Fletcher because the way he talks, but the man drops F-bombs. He's calling everybody gay as a derogatory
He's a villain,
term.
dude.
100%.
There's no way around it. He's a villain. I mean, you like him. You like J.K. Simmons, and you realize how amazing he is in this movie, but you're not. You shouldn't like him. He's a bad person. He's a very much a ends justify the means person. He's the definition of that. But
I don't even believe that shit, though. We'll talk about that later. I don't believe his ass.
Get into it now. What do you mean?
He's a huge dick. J.K. Simmons' character in this movie, Fletcher. He's the most intimidating authority figure imaginable, right? He's like a dictator, and he's unnecessarily cruel. Later on in the movie, he explains that, I have to be that way to push people.
That's such horseshit.
It's horse shit.
He gets off on it 100%.
He does.
That's absolute
But
horseshit.
he's also trying to set up Andrew.
Exactly.
Yeah, he's a villain.
He's just saying what he thinks will make Andrew comfortable so that he can fuck him over immediately.
Exact 100%.
Brett, you told me to listen to the Rewatchables podcast. I know we're like jumping way ahead now, but one of the things that surprised me, and this is what, well, two things that surprised me. One, this movie came out 10 fucking years ago, or 9 years ago, but 10 years ago probably by the time we released this episode.
Hey.
But Bill Simmons said that like when he first watched this movie, he kind of thought like Fletcher was in the right. You know what I mean? Or that Fletcher actually did want to bring the best out of Andrew. And I know now we're kind of getting into like the more philosophical side of the movie, but there's no one here thinks the ends justify the means, right? Like no one's going to make that argument.
Hell to the nah, my friend.
I think it's a lot like, and I watched this within last week, it's why I'm thinking about it. I think it's a lot like Deadpool, where they torture people and most of them die, but the goal is to torture them so much that their body mutates and they turn into a superhero. It's kind of like he is to me. He's torturing these people. The people that can't take it drop out, good riddance, they sucked anyway. They were never going to make it. And then the people that do make it through, which apparently is probably nobody until Andrew, make it through. So I think that I might be I guess I'm in the minority. I think a part of him deep down is he wants to bring out the best in people, but I think it's like selfish reasons. It's so he can make the next bird. Plus he does say that Jazz is dying and maybe he wants to live again. But I think it's mostly he's a sadist. There's no doubt about that.
Mm-hmm.
Side note, there's a little too much Jazz is dying in these movies. You know what I'm saying? These Damien Chazelle movies. 2 times
bring
is
back
too many.
Jazz?
I've heard it too many times.
When I listened to all those albums a few years ago, I learned one fact. I freaking hate jazz.
Thank you.
I had to listen to quite a few jazz albums. I know I say had. And I think the greatest band name of all time is a band called Johnny Hates Jazz. They had a big song in the 80s called Shattered Dreams, and I don't know why I'm saying that now, but jazz, I hate freaking jazz. To listen to jazz, that's the only bad part about this movie is I freaking hate all the stuff. Herbie Hancock, terrible. Miles Davis and stuff, that stuff is okay. He's pretty baller, but...
Jazz killed jazz.
I had an English teacher in high school say, if you don't like jazz, I find you rather unintelligent.
Who said that?
Yeah.
Which teacher?
I can't say his name because you know him. But when I heard that, I said, I don't like this man and I hate jazz.
I'll say this. I've been in like a bar where there's a live jazz band. If you have a cocktail and they're performing in front of you, very different vibe. If you are listening
I'm with you.
If you're listening to jazz on your way into work in the morning, you're a fucking weirdo. Like, I
Yep.
will say
If
that.
if I'm out and I'm a little sauced, I've had a couple libations, then I'll listen to anything.
If you're listening to anything but Spoilers podcast on your way to work in the morning, you got problems.
You're a fucking
It's
weirdo. Yeah, exactly. I think it's worth, though, exploring because Fletcher exploits these, or at least one of these relationships later. We see only we see a couple, I guess, but 2 main relationships that Andrew Neiman, Miles Teller has outside of the jazz band. Stevie, can you tell us about his relationship with his father?
Yeah, so this is something I thought this movie did really well, which is an attentive, protective parent.
Yeah.
That's not overbearing. It's just someone that wants the best for their son. And especially because, like, Andrew doesn't have a mom. He's an only child. And these two, I mean, I have to imagine his dad hates his brothers too. And his nephew, God, they're douches. These are like the only 2 like close family these like 2 really have. And I like their relationship a lot in this movie, especially the dynamic. And, you know, part of me feels like the reason Andrew is the way he is because of his dad, which is, you know, kind of a failed writer, didn't really like pursue his dreams. And even though he loves his dad, I don't think Andrew wants that for himself.
No, and he's he's like the antithesis of Fletcher. He's like the embodiment of a good job dad. Like, he failed, so he thinks it's okay. Like, he doesn't want Andrew to stress himself out, to go all out. To him, it's like, it's okay, you tried. But, like, that's the exact opposite. And Andrew likes that early on, but, like, towards the end, he's going for something greater. And I think that's why he starts to alienate everybody. Also, Paul Reiser and his relationship, this movie is really cool. I like it.
Nothing wrong with being a teacher, though. You know, you got Teacher of the Year. That's pretty sweet.
Right.
I'm not. I wouldn't. My mom's a teacher. I would never say that.
But Fletcher definitely looks down on it, right? To some extent.
Yes.
He's like, college? And then he says high school, and Fletcher kind of just has this look.
Parents musicians?
No,
What do they do?
my dad's a writer.
Oh, what's he written?
I guess he's more of a teacher, really.
Oh, college.
Pennington High School.
What about your mother? What does she do?
I don't know. She left when I was a baby.
So no musicians in the family. Well, you just gotta listen to the greats then.
When Fletcher is asking Andrew Neiman about, like, his life, I think he's only doing it so that he can get ammunition to use against him.
Definitely.
Because he immediately does.
It's the most brutal thing he does, Bobby, in the whole movie. I mean, like, obviously he does worse things, but he purposely built this kid up in the hallway, send him in there full of confidence, and let them think that this is all going to be okay. And then he continues to build him up for another 5 minutes about, it's okay, you're learning. And then he freaking flips out, and within 3 minutes, he's literally slapping him in the face, saying, no wonder your mama left. You and your dad are losers. Like, it's freaking insane.
Well, not only that, the YouTube video you sent me, Brett, I forget who it's by. Nerdstalgic.
I'll look it up so it can give us some credit.
But yeah, he said something effective. Like, he thinks Fletcher's even like deeper. Like, one, getting ammunition, but two, when he establishes that Andrew Neiman has like no connections to the music world, and like Fletcher kind of like pressure tests that a couple of times. Like,
I never thought that
it's like you can't hurt me, and my validation is the only thing that can actually mean anything to you.
Yep.
Nerdstalgic.
Yeah, great YouTube video.
Yeah, It's called "What Makes Terrence Fletcher One of the Most Terrifying Villains in Film."
Mm-hmm.
In film history, I think I told my mom one time. I said, it might be a little bit of hyperbole, but I said he might be the scariest movie character ever. Like, the first time you see it, he's absolutely terrifying.
Mm-hmm. I'm with
it's like
you there.
White Knuckle.
I would have not thought that there would be people like this. But I met someone like this that I had to deal with for an extended time in my life.
Yeah, Ramses Lopez.
When I was living at a sober living home for 2 years, like a halfway house, the manager was like this guy.
Dude, that sucks for addicts, right?
In all aspects. He wasn't just a hard ass. Like, this guy, J.K. Simmons in this movie, is beyond just being a hard ass. Like, people would describe Paul, be like, yeah, he's tough, or he's a hard ass, but it's really because they couldn't articulate exactly what he is. And I think the best word for it is cruel. He is cruel to people, and he is a violent lunatic, essentially. And this guy is the embodiment of Paul. If you added 300 pounds to this guy, oh, maybe I shouldn't. Well, he's not alive anymore. R.I.P. Paul.
R.I.P. Paul.
Was Paul ex-military?
I don't remember.
Not at 450 pounds, he wasn't. Wait, who's Paul?
Paul was the manager of that sober living home.
Oh, okay. I thought you were saying nice things. You were saying R.I.P., but he sounded like a huge D-bag, so I wasn't sure.
He was a huge D-bag, but still, he's dead, so R.I.P.
You're glad he's dead.
Nah, I mean, look, I got sober in Paul's house, so it's a complicated relationship, you know?
Yep, gotcha.
It's like Neiman's relationship here with J.K. Simmons. Because at the end...
He called him a Jaime.
Things kind of work out at the end of this movie.
Mm-hmm.
That's a big debate, actually. Even Chazelle says the opposite, but we'll get to that.
What does he know?
One of the things I'll say about J.K. Simmons, though, this is his 10th movie. Second most in spoilers history. And Stevie, you might kill me for this, or maybe even Kylo, but I'm with you, Brett. I think this might legitimately be the best villain in movie history.
Dude, he's so good. I mean, like, so like nuanced too. That's what I was talking about. It's so nuanced. Go ahead.
One, when you look at like, not that this matters, but in terms of like critical acclaim for like a person playing a villain, like I don't know if anyone's won more awards for like one role. You know, I mean, like
Christoph Waltz.
You think Christoph Waltz is better than J.K. Simmons? Dude, I think it's like right there because it's like a lot of people identify with J.K. Simmons in the sense that like
How?
in the sense that like they know where he's coming from, right? Like a lot of people at the time, like
A failed musician who takes it out on students?
I'm saying like Bill Simmons said like when he first watched this movie, it's kind of like the MJ thing, right? Like MJ was like hitting his teammates and shit. You know what I mean? It's like, well, he just had to do that to be the best.
Yeah, but MJ did, though. MJ did put the ball in the hoop. That's like Phil Jackson slapping MJ.
No, I'm with you there. But I'll also say, like, a lot of people, you know, J.K. Simmons is J. Jonah Jameson.
Hell
like,
yeah.
PK will, like, love that. But, like, his physical presence is so perfect. He's got this fucking vein that's popping out of the side of his, like, shaved head, which is just amazing.
His chest is big in this movie.
Oh, he's pretty buff.
He's ripped.
Yeah.
Yeah, he looks buff in this.
He's 59, too, at the time.
Yeah, he looks big.
Insane.
Mm-hmm. He's wearing all black. Like when he's doing that, like what the video you sent me, Brett, like described as like love bombing or like taking away his love.
Yeah.
Like his face, his ability to like change his face from like supportive to just like fucking intense and yelling is insane. And let's get to that first band rehearsal, the rushing or dragging. Brett, I know you saw the short film. This scene is the short film that Damien Chazelle made. Essentially almost word for word. Can you take us through what happens here?
Yeah, you reminded me of my review, and I reread it, and I was like, if either of you guys seen the short film,
Yeah.
dude, that I couldn't handle how sad that kid gets. But anyway, so like I said earlier, he's like building Andrew up, makes him feel good, you know, like welcome, everything's gonna be all right, and then he even starts with the compliments. Oh, nice fills. And then he even, like, I don't know if he knew that Buddy Rich was his hero, but he said, oh, Buddy Rich. Like, it's so psychopathic what he's doing. It's so awful.
6, 7. Rushing. 5, 6, and dragging.
And you literally find out at the end, and all these people have written in about, he's actually keeping perfect time, and Fletcher knows this, but he's just messing with him so much. He's tearing him down so much this first time, within 10 minutes of him joining this band. And he keeps saying, too fast. Oh, no, you're too slow. Too fast. And then he's goes on a rant about, are you dragging? Was it?
Are you rushing or are you dragging?
And it just doesn't even matter what Andrew says or is going to say. It's not going to be the right answer because he's just trying to, people say knock him down a peg, but he's trying to knock him down like 10 pegs. And then just to see if he has it. If he can handle it and he comes back, then it's like, well, he passed the first test or whatever, but at the same time, it's like he doesn't care.
Mm-hmm.
He literally got personal information from him, like somebody said earlier, just to tear him down. He starts crying. He slaps him in the face when he's trying to keep tempo. And this is after he went bonkers on a guy for almost no reason and kicked him out of the band.
See, this is why Fletcher's a hypocrite. Like, that kid wasn't out of tune. And it's almost like, is he literally just picking on this kid because he's a little bit, like, heavier? You know what I mean? Like, why is he singling out this kid?
I think that was why because he does say, I've been carrying you for a long time. I think he's had problems with him, and I think he has probably ripped on him for his weight many times. But I guess I'd hate to even say this, to give Fletcher at least some, I don't want to say credit, but like, you are in a prestigious band. if you can't tell that you're out of tune, if you're in or out of tune, then you're in the wrong place, is what he's trying to say. But obviously, like everything else, he goes about it in the worst possible way. This kid might kill himself.
No, there's no right answer to that question. That's unfair. He gets in this guy's face. He's 1 inch away from his face, screaming in his face, "Are you out of tune?" Which to me is violence, pretty much. If you're doing that, I consider that to be violence. Cause
that's assault.
I've had this argument with Steve before, and he doesn't agree with me. But like that level of contact, as close as you can possibly be to someone's face, screaming in their face, like the violent knee-jerk reactions will come out of people because of that. So that is already unacceptable. But that aside, there's no right answer to the question, "Are you out of tune?" Because if he says, "Yes, I am," we see what happens, right? If he says no,
setting up to fail.
"Oh, you're calling me a liar? You think I don't know?"
Mm-hmm.
What is he supposed to say to that? And he's not out of tune. There's just, he puts him in a position where you can't do anything.
I'm just saying, I think, kind of like with Andrew, there is, like you said, there is no right answer. He's going to get mad at you regardless because he's sick of you. And yeah, I'm with you. I agree with you 100%.
All right.
But that's why Fletcher's just a bully, though, right? Because it's
a
like
lose-lose.
He doesn't care about the kid who is out of tune. He
didn't even punish him.
Couches it all in like, I don't want to lose this competition. But if he really cared about winning the competition, he would single out the kid who was out of tune, right? Like that would be the target of his ire, not this kid who probably has like some self-esteem issues. Like he knows he can bulldoze this kid.
Exactly.
So I don't know. One of the things that stands out to me though, Stevie, is it's hard not to compare this to Tar, but this movie does I know you hate jazz, but it does a fucking phenomenal job of like making the scenes with music dynamic. And they're pretty fucking long too. You know what I mean? It's not just about Andrew in these scenes. I think it looks great.
It looks great, and I mean, I could be way off basis here, but in my opinion, as far as like movies go, where there's not an extreme amount of action, I mean, there's not a lot of dialogue in this movie. And this movie still does a great way of building tension without a whole lot of dialogue. And it doesn't spoon feed you, but it does a good job of explaining to you like what's going on in the scene. And there is tension, just even with J.K. Simmons being in the room, there's always tension. Mm-hmm. It's kind of the brilliance of his character.
Even when he's vibing with the music, he still has.
You feel kind of on edge.
Yeah, there's like scariness about him, and I don't know. Like I said, it's hard not to compare this to Tar because it's very similar. And I was just so disappointed that movie didn't dwell on the classical music aspect of this movie about a toxic conductor. But I just love like the fucking sweeping shots through like the studio band while they're playing, the lighting, the color palette in this studio band room is like different than any other place in the movie, and it's fucking amazing. It's like yellowy gold, like I don't know,
yeah.
Like adds to that. It's just so fucking great.
Well, there's like a gold sheen.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely. I'm also not an expert on this at all, but I know it won an Oscar, and I just feel like isn't it kind of like a master class in film editing? Like the editing is like really, really good in this.
Absolutely.
Anybody who's technical?
I'm not technical. I would say so though, right?
It seemed like it was to me. I just don't know. I mean, obviously I know it won, but it just seems really, really good.
This is one of the movies that I've watched for this podcast, and I'm going to count Big Dumb Movie in this. One of the few in recent months, maybe even years, when I had just such a strong attraction to it. Like usually I have to like really set myself down to focus and watch a movie. Like don't go on your phone, pay attention to the movie, just watch it. You have to prepare, right, for the podcast. But in this case, I was just like so willingly engaged. Like I didn't want to stop watching it. And I have seen this movie before, and I remember it well, and I remember liking it a lot. But I think the editing is probably a part of that, right? Like how much it can keep your attention at any given time and how much the tension builds has a lot to do with that, with how much you get in a scene at a time.
There's a lot of like quick cuts of like this trumpet player, then this saxophone player, then back to Miles Teller, then back to Fletcher.
Yeah, it's really good.
It's awesome. But the movie does slow down a couple times. One of those is for like a character we haven't mentioned yet, Nicole. Stevie, how do you feel about the relationship dynamic? We just like talked through the whole thing at this point of Nicole and Andrew. She's barely in this movie, but I think she's supposed to serve like a larger thematic purpose.
That we're supposed to feel like Andrew, we just want the drums.
Well,
Why is she in the scene? We just want the drums.
give us more drums.
Give us the drums.
Jazz is dying.
Yeah.
Probably the Starbucks shit. Give me the real jazz.
I mean, I think Andrew's unfair to her, which she explains pretty clearly when like in their breakup scene. But her barely being in this movie is pretty reflective of their relationship. And I personally think Andrew is kind of toxic. Just a toxic character in general. I don't think he's kind of this altruistic hero. I think he has his own bullshit, and he's sometimes cringe to watch. And I think his treatment of his girlfriend is not the best.
Their date at the pizza shop is not going well.
No, it seems bad.
I don't know like what she sees in him other than when he's like, yeah, I go to the movies with my dad.
Yeah, family's important to her.
She's out of his league. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
Oh, Melissa Benoist? Yeah.
We're talking
for sure.
about fucking Supergirl here. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I have met women that are wildly attracted to Miles Teller, but that's usually after they saw Top Gun Maverick.
Yeah, he's a stud muffin in that movie.
I don't know what she sees in him other than that like one sentence that he gives her, like, yeah, I like to hang out with my dad. And she's like,
I don't think
"Ooh."
he's bad looking.
Yeah, but do you want to hang around someone who's talking about fucking jazz? Jesus Christ.
All the time.
No, I told you, I freaking hate jazz.
He doesn't take a lot of interest in her. He doesn't ask her any questions.
Have you heard of Buddy Rich?
Kind of judgmental, too, about, like, how could you not know what you want to do at 19?
That part really bothered me.
That's why I freaking dropped out of college the first time, because I didn't know what I wanted to do.
That part bothered me, and he was just like, yeah, I got my whole path figured out. What's yours? And he acts like he's cool with her not knowing, but really he's not.
I think this movie's really great. One of the lines I think is cringe, though, when Nicole's like, my mom's kind of crazy. She wanted to be an actress when she was my age. Like, looks at the camera and winks, basically. Like, I don't... Come on.
One of those things, man.
When I was growing up, my mom said I had a really big chin, and that's why guys wouldn't like me.
Really?
Yeah.
You don't?
Well, she said my dad cursed me with one. It was like Jay Leno, look.
No, it's not.
Yeah, it is.
I don't think so at all.
That's nice.
Your chin's very nice. Very nice. Your mom sounds insane.
Well, she did want to be an actress when she was my age.
What about you?
What about me?
What do you do?
When he's like, your mom sounds crazy, I was like, that's a little too early to be dropping that. Sorry, Korey, I didn't.
No, it's just like, it's like when people say in like the Boondock Saints, this isn't like the movies.
Right.
Oh, God.
God, I hear that all the time. I hate that line.
Mm-hmm.
This is very much like the movies, sir.
Yes,
It's like a kid in King Arthur's court. Like, oh, this works in the movies.
Oh, God.
Yeah, well, it gets back into the jazz, though. Stevie, I have a Stevie question for you. What actually happened to the music folder at the Overbrook Jazz Competition?
Holy shit.
Talk about the part where he steals the, pretty much steals the job from the guy that J.K. Simmons calls the F word all the time.
I'm super confused. Yeah, Tanner, either the movie straight up lies to us, and Miles Teller hit it subconsciously or something, or
No.
like like what actually fucking happened to it? I don't understand.
That's poor character building if that's the case. Because that's really not his character.
He just grabs a nice, refreshing Pepsi.
Andrew seems to operate by merit. And he doesn't seem very cutthroat in that regard. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but that could be like his path, a step to the dark side. I mean, he
Yeah,
goes
but we never see that side though, and just kind of have that be like a throwaway it doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
Was Fletcher like fucking army crawling on the floor and grabbed the folder the second Miles Teller turned away and like scampered away? Like,
Yes.
Dude, that's what I thought. Like the way I read this movie is, J.K. Simmons flat out nabbed that thing,
Possible.
or told someone to nab it. One of the two.
Who else would be motivated to take it?
No one.
no one.
Everyone is so self-involved into their own fucking shit, they would never think to go, hey, I'm going to grab this folder. Like, that would never once cross their minds. So, the way I look at it is, I find the relationship between, what's that guy's name? the kind of senior member of the Corps.
Tanner.
Gotta hate him.
Is it Tanner?
Tanner, yeah.
Why do you hate him, Brett?
He's the biggest... Okay, by the way, when I say he's the biggest dick in the movie, we are not counting Fletcher. I think he's an a-hole. I think he's the worst. I don't think I could deal with him very much without wanting to, like, throw down.
He has a punchable face.
Oh my god, so much. And then the way he talks to Andrew, without even knowing him, is just so douchey.
Don't forget to turn my page.
Well, don't you think that was kind of like bred into him, though? Like, don't you think
Maybe.
he could have had like a senior that was like, you know, treated him like that too, and it just kind of bred down?
If it's bred in you...
That's kind of the environment that like Fletcher builds.
But if that's true, you're not giving your folder to somebody else.
That's true.
You're not risking it.
Well, I mean, he's just treating Neiman like his bitch, though, the whole time. Like, tune my drum, turn my pages, hold my folder. You know what I mean? Like, it's a dumb move on his part.
I feel like he was already like that.
I don't know.
It's cutthroat, though.
But I think JK flat out nabbed that shit.
But here's my counter to that. Fletcher looks legitimately annoyed and worried when Tanner says that he can't play. And again, he will do this. He will do everything to sabotage everybody. And we'll get into the ending. But what he feeds on, what he needs, is for people outside of the school to think that he's amazing. I just don't think he would want to sabotage that concert.
I know exactly what he's going to do, right? So if they can't do it, if he's like, oh, you mean this folder? Next time, keep an eye on it at the very last second. So he has all the cards, right?
And like part of me also thinks that J.K. Simmons knows that Andrew is flat out brilliant. And I think that he was kind of pulling at two forces, which is someone who can read sheet music and someone who can't, and seeing who will rise to the top.
That is the one thing, right? Like, Fletcher is obsessed with this one instrument, more so than any other instrument in his entire band. And I guess it's justified if he's like, I could have a Buddy Rich on my hands, legitimately. But it's like, in a couple scenes later, they have that fucking drum off that goes from like 9 p.m. to 2 a.m. And he's just making all of these other, like, you know, Juilliard level, insanely talented musicians just sit around not practicing while he's obsessed with these drummers.
Is drumming the most important part of jazz or something? It must be, right?
Yes.
No, actually, they were talking about that in Rewatchables. Like, no, it's not, but it is. It is what keeps time. But I would definitely. They said it's definitely not on that. But again, I'm not a musician. I think like your brass and stuff is more important, but it does keep time. It's more of a background instrument. It fills.
You've got 20 people in this band, even if it's the most important part. If it's like the 30th most, like, you know, 30% of it is the drumming, you still have to focus on the other 70% at some point. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
He's got 20 people in this thing. I don't know. But again, the movie slows down here in this next scene a little bit. Stevie, I want to talk with you about this. I think we're kind of the same mind. And I'll say this. When Whiplash is like at Whiplash level, it's a fucking 10 of 10. I think when it downshifts in these parts, it's more like a 7 out of 10, maybe 8 out of 10.
7.
I don't like the dinner scene. And I think it's kind of cringe.
I've watched it one time, and every other time I've watched this movie, I skip it.
It's a cringe scene.
So awkward.
My son plays sports ball. I don't get your...
Division
My
3.
son's on the gridiron. You and your mamby-pamby drum kit.
Right.
Like, I mean, first off, like, that's your family. I mean...
Yeah, he's an a-hole.
I don't care, like, if Andrew was, like, raising tie-dyed ponies. Like, if he was really good at it and going to the top school for raising tie-dyed ponies, like, I would ride or die with, like, my family because he's doing excellent at something like that. And it's just a weird dynamic scene, and also it paints Andrew in a terrible light. Mm-hmm. I mean, it makes him really up his own ass, and also the movie kind of becomes up its own ass, which is like, they don't understand jazz like you and I. They're all about the sports ball, but you and I get it. Like, it's really annoying to watch.
Jazz is dying.
Good, thank God.
I love you, Korey.
I just feel like it's a mistake because it would be better if his family was supportive, like his dad. Like, this like adds incentive for him to pull away and to like accept Fletcher. I don't get it.
It makes it a better scene if like we do a cutaway and say it's like Thanksgiving dinner and like they're all talking about stuff like that and his uncle's like, where's Andrew? And it shows Andrew like bloody hands like in a practice room.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's like a better dynamic than, you know, Andrew becoming full of himself.
And it's just, I don't know. I don't feel like families, maybe some do, but I just don't know. It's too cordial yet extremely like underhandedly rude. You know, it's like, do you have any friends, Andrew? You know what I mean? Like, what? It's just too calculated. Everything about it.
Yeah.
93-yard touchdown. Pretty good.
Division 3.
Pretty good.
It's impressive.
D3.
Does the studio get you a job?
No, it's not an actual studio. It's just the name of the ensemble. But yeah, it's a big step forward in my career.
Well, I'm so glad you figured it out. It's a nasty business, I am sure. Oh, hey, are you going to tell them about your game this week? Huh? Living up to your title?
What I scored a 93-yard touchdown.
School record, school record, school record. That's true.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, it's Division 3. It's Carlton football. It's not even Division 2. It's Division 3.
Got any friends, Andy?
Korey, we learned about the death of Ryan Connolly right before that drum off that I mentioned.
That's Sean Casey.
Sean Casey. Sorry.
Conley's the redhead.
We learned about the death of Sean Casey. Can you tell us about the death of Sean Casey?
I wish it was the death of Ryan Connolly.
You look like a leprechaun.
Johnny Utah.
Johnny Utah, motherfucker.
Turn my pages, bitch.
Great line.
Well, J.K. Simmons, Fletcher reveals that one of his students died. You know, he gets a phone call. He's quite agitated after the phone call, but we just think it's because he's just an agitated guy. But he is upset because a student of his died, which he announces to the rest of his team, right? The rest of the band. He says a student of his was really great. You know, I taught him everything he knows. He was awesome, but he got in a car accident and died.
Damn.
That's what he says, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is that the real story, Pappy?
No.
It's not what happened.
Not what happened.
Why does Fletcher lie, do you think, Korey? Like, does he see that as an existential threat already to his teaching career? Like, what incentive does he have to lie about this story? To romanticize?
So we have to talk about this aspect if we're going to go into that.
Yeah, do it.
Is this movie just completely unrealistic? Is this just like way outside the bounds of reality?
I'm not questioning it when I'm watching it. Maybe it's because I don't know about the world of jazz, but I would say yes. None of this shit could ever fucking happen. Right?
We have a teacher that is violent with students. He threw a chair at our main character, and if it had connected, if our main character wasn't fast enough to duck, it would have probably created a fucking hole in his head.
Knock some teeth out, for sure.
He slaps people in the face multiple times in front of other students. So now he's at a point where he's saying, oh, a student of mine, he was great, but he died in a car accident, when in reality, the student killed himself. And we, the audience, are led to believe that the student developed problems that stemmed, well, they started when he was in this class, right? They kind of are indirectly saying that the teacher's abuse contributed to the suicide. Is this all correct?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So it might be a case where he sees that the walls are kind of closing in on him, because I'm sure he knew the truth. I'm sure he realized that the person killed himself and not got in a car accident. I don't think he was lied to, J.K. Simmons. So it must be just to kind of like save face or something.
I feel like it's just more manipulation.
Maybe so. How do you think?
I don't know. I mean, he used it to, I would say inspire, but that's not really something he does. I don't know. I just feel like that's something he's always doing. He's always manipulating something. I don't know why he's crying. I don't know. I don't know if that's because he thought the kid was good and he thought that maybe he could be the next Bird, which is what he's looking for. And like, that's another person down that he didn't send to fame. Again, I don't know if any of that story is true. I don't know if he went to that Lincoln Center. I don't know. So I don't know. I'm just saying, I never really saw it that way, but now that you mention it, yeah, I could see it that way. knowing him like I do, I know Fletcher really well. I just feel like he's probably a point behind it.
There's a weird scene at the first competition where I think it's an old student that Fletcher runs into, and he has a daughter, and
so weird.
I don't know if this is intentional or not. The daughter's name's Amy, and Fletcher calls her Ava in the scene. Like, he calls her the wrong name. So it was either like a mistake, or Fletcher's just that much of a douchebag that he got introduced to this girl and calls her the wrong name 5 seconds later. It's really weird. But he seems to have a good rapport with this ex-student, and it's like encouraging to Miles Teller when he sees this play out, right? Like, he sees this like interaction of Fletcher, and he kind of smiles at it, and Fletcher, of course, walks in the room and calls them all cocksuckers like 5 seconds later after talking to this 5-year-old.
Dude, Fletcher says to one person, "Get the fuck out of my sight before I demolish you."
Mini-me?
Is that the guy who lost his folder, right? The other guy?
Mini-me. No, he calls it's
Yeah,
Mini-me.
Mini-me.
Dude, that shit is fucking hilarious. Like, it's so crazy. It's like Full Metal Jacket, right? It's like the drill instructor. It's like that crazy where it's like kind of like funny sometimes.
But yeah, I don't know if it's like, if Fletcher wants his students to think that like, if you make it out of this, we're tight. You know what I mean? Like, it's just this period of your life it's going to be extremely hard. I just don't. Stevie, like, why does he lie about Sean Casey's death? I don't want to dwell on this, but I feel like it's a really important part of the movie. It's the downfall of Fletcher, the start of the downfall of Fletcher. Do you know why he would lie about it?
So when I first saw this movie, and he got that phone call, I thought he was given bad news about a test, maybe some sort of disease. And then, you know, it kind of comes back, like you said, to Sean Casey, but I think a part of him does feel human at a certain point, which is like, I actually did drive this kid to madness. I firmly believe that for a second he felt actual
remorse.
Yeah, that's definitely possible. I think that's actually decently likely, but it doesn't last very long, obviously.
No, he takes it out on the drummers forever.
Yeah,
exactly. And I don't know, we were talking about the editing. You know, the editing is like the cutting between the scenes, but this movie is fucking insanely paced. Like, all of this has happened within the first 60 minutes of this movie. And the Dunellen competition happens around that 60-minute mark. Korey, can you take us through the double entendre of Whiplash here? What happens to Neiman?
Yeah, man. This is what I thought was the end of the movie. It's been a few years since I've seen this movie, and I wasn't completely sober when I saw it, but it broke through anyway. There was a lot of great stuff in this movie that I love a lot. This competition is insane because the lead character, Andrew, he's all set to be the main drummer. I don't know what you call it. First chair, first stool, whatever the fuck.
Whore.
What is he, a whore?
First whore?
Core player. That's what he calls him throughout the movie.
Core.
First people.
So he's all set to do this, right? But on his way there, something goes wrong. Oh shit. I'm taking a bus and the fucking tire goes out on the bus. So what does he do? He gets like a rental car. And this is really causing him to run late. I've never been able to get a rental car very quickly myself. But it takes him a while to get it. He's running late to the competition. But he gets there on time. But J.K. Simmons was like, doesn't matter, you're too fucking late. We're not going to let you drum. Get the fuck out. Andrew stands up for himself in a big way. And he's like, no, I earned this part. I'm fucking drumming. Fuck that redheaded bitch. It's me.
Yeah, he turns into a dick, yeah.
At least he's kind of standing up for himself in a way that no one really does to Fletcher.
Right.
To be fair, he's standing up for himself, but bringing Connolly down too, who hasn't really been that much of a douche.
I love that he calls him Johnny Utah. That's my favorite reference in this whole movie. It's such a silly insult. Fuck off, Johnny Utah.
Which is like not that bad of a thing to call a man,
Right.
Look, I can use Ryan's sticks.
Neiman, you lost the fucking part.
No, I didn't. Look, you can't fucking do this to me.
Can't?
Yeah.
When did you become a fucking expert on what I can or cannot do, you fucking weepy willow shit sack?
I earned that part.
You never earned anything. God, you are a self-righteous prick. The only reason you're a fucking core is because you misplaced a folder. The only reason you're in studio band to begin with is because I told you exactly what I'd be asking for in Nassau. Am I wrong?
Yeah, no, I'm in studio band because I'm the best player.
back
Fuck off, Johnny Utah. Turn my pages, bitch.
This is where it gets crazy. He has to get his sticks out of his car. He says they're in his car. They're not. He has to drive to go pick them up. The competition is fucking minutes away. The clock is ticking. He is already way too late. In a hurried, frenzied, frantic rush, he gets in his car, is driving to get the sticks, is driving back, gets in a fucking car accident. Just totally T-boned by like a truck or some shit. And we see it from inside the car. It's that shot that I fucking hate. Because whenever you see
a lot of movies,
I feel like someone's about to get in a car accident when the camera's inside the car like that. It's like it's almost a telegraph at times, but the tension is mounting so heavily that I don't think you necessarily expect it at that exact moment. So it does take you by surprise. Huge car accident. He's fucking flipped upside down, I think. He's bloody as shit. There's glass everywhere. He crawls out of the broken debris and runs his ass to the competition, a bloody, disheveled mess.
In an alternate universe, when he gets hit by that car, the movie Bleed for This starts, where he's a boxer who gets in a car crash. I knew Stevie would know what I was talking about.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, Brett, Korey, you asked if any of this could actually happen. This shit is absolutely fantastical. I almost wish the car crash part wasn't in the movie. But Brett, how do you feel about that and his triumphant, well, not triumphant at all, his failure to play at this competition?
That's another scene that I skipped ahead a little bit. I mean, it's brutal, but that's what Fletcher has made them be like. They can't show any screw up at all. Or, I mean, he could be back in Nassau in the Bahamas like the next day. I mean, is that what you're asking? Yeah, he's all bloody. His hand's probably broken. His arm was probably broken.
He is fucked up, and he cannot play the drums. Like, no one could be expected to, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's like dripping blood everywhere, and then he tackles Fletcher, which apparently J.K. Simmons broke 2 ribs when he got tackled.
Good. Piece of shit.
If Fletcher had any compassion at all, though, he'd be like, dude, you're not going to lose your seat. Just sit down and don't play.
Go to the hospital.
Right? Like, or don't fuck up my competition.
He does not think that way, though. Obviously, you know that.
Well, right. But like we just said, like maybe he was compassionate for a second.
Yeah.
We learned about Sean Casey. It's like, I don't know, too. He's in front of these people whose opinion he actually cares, the judges of this competition. Like, you're going to let this bloody kid who's looking totally disheveled come out on stage? Like, the judges have to be like, what the fuck is happening, too? But you're right. He gets physical with Fletcher, and real life breaks 2 of J.K. Simmons' ribs. The fallout has begun. We talked about the litigation process that happens. He's in a new apartment. He's kicked out of school. He's seeing movies with his dad again. And Stevie, he runs into Fletcher a little bit later at the jazz club. How do you feel about this jazz club scene? Take us through it.
Love it.
You love it, Brett?
I like this scene. I do.
Really? Do you want to explain it?
Definitely
No,
like the first time.
Stevie.
No.
Stevie
You go.
doesn't like
You go.
it. That's why I want Stevie to talk about it.
Okay.
The double sigh.
Yeah, so...
Oh, we're in trouble.
We're at, jazz club, with the cool cats. And their jazz cigarettes and their moody pianos. And, yada, yada, yada. Fletcher recognizes Andrew and says, let's have a drink. Let's talk. And they're kind of going through that whole spiel of, I got fired. Oh, I didn't know that. Kind of laughing about his attitude and whatnot. And then J.K. Simmons kind of gives his whole thesis for the reason, why he is the way he is, and I can't stand it. I really can't. I don't like it at all.
Why?
That's not very Fletcher-like. That's not in his repertoire. That's for movie purposes only, and to get a good line during the trailer, which is the most harmful language, or the two most harmful words in the English language is good job. That's the only reason why that's existing in there.
Rockhard Viggo Mortensen, yes.
I thought we had already kind of talked about that. He's just setting him up.
Even if he is just setting him up, it would never come out that way with Fletcher's character, and I don't like it.
The thing about Fletcher is the movie wants us to believe and I don't hate this scene, actually, but not only is he, virtuoso, the top teacher at the top music academy in the world, he's also like one of the best liars in the world, right? Like, I'm believing what he's saying, and I feel like a lesser movie would have had a redemption arc for Fletcher.
Yeah.
Based
I
on
agree.
this. When he says something like, Ryan Connolly, the redhead, was just incentive for you, that's all bullshit, right? Like, at the end of the day, Fletcher wanted to see who was the better drummer between the two.
Possibly, unless he actually did think that he was the best, but I don't know. I don't know if we'll ever know that.
Fletcher is such a spiteful, bitter fuck that he will go at any lengths to regain Andrew's trust and fuck him over, even if it means fucking over 12 other guys.
What was Fletcher's plan at the JVC Jazz Fest?
I was thinking that earlier today, like, he just was going to finish without a drummer?
Like, he was really just going to, like, because that's on him, right? If his drummer walks off the stage, like, that would be his reputation.
I think he has enough reputation built up, it wouldn't have mattered.
Yeah, he's got the cachet. And he did have a joke, like, he literally put it on him saying, oh, a little too much avant-garde, like I can't stop him. So, yeah, I think he's got the cachet built up, and he had, like, a zinger ready for him, but it was all worth it to him to make him look bad. I love the end of the movie, like, a ton, so.
I think he's not only just trying to fuck over Andrew Neiman, he's trying to drive the desire to drum out of him. I don't think he's doing any of that to make him better. All that was bullshit as far as I'm concerned. Everything he does in his cruelty, that's because he likes to be that way. That's who he is as a person. I think he wants vengeance so bad that he is willing to do all of this so that Andrew will never touch a drumstick again.
And even, I don't know, even if Fletcher was being semi-honest in this scene, like, what he says is he never had a Charlie Parker, right? Like, he doesn't say it in the way like, I never helped a Charlie Parker, or I never even, like, found a Charlie Parker. He wants to say that he taught a jazz legend, right? Like, he wants to attach himself to a legend. And, like, maybe, Stevie, you were saying that earlier, like, is that part of, like, Fletcher's cruelty, that he wasn't one of the greats?
I think so.
Those who can't do, teach, basically.
I mean, yeah, I think Fletcher was a failed musician. He's a really smart mind, but I just don't think he, like, ever made it. And I think people like Neiman really piss him off.
He's playing at some, like, random bar on a Thursday night, right? Like, he's not in the Lincoln Center.
Right. And I think people like Neiman, which is, like, not prodigy, but just natural born talent, like, really anger him. And I think it's kind of like that line of just, like, beating, like, the drums out of Neiman is more important to him than, helping Neiman, like, find, like, his ultimate, I guess you could say, kind of reaching the top of his powers.
I like how Rewatchables kind of said it, like, yes, he is a failed musician, but he's, like, at the top of his field at the best school. So, like, he is still full of himself. He thinks, even though he's a failed musician, it's like, oh, well, I'm the best at this. So that's where he gets to keep his arrogance and stuff. So,
but I think we've all had that, right? Where you're working at a shitty job, and whoever has the most power at that shitty job is an asshole just because they can be, basically, right? Like, you've climbed the top of this pile of shit. Not that this school's a pile of shit, but it's like, it's not his dream, I wouldn't think. Like, I think he wants to be playing at Lincoln Center, like Stevie's saying. But Brett, you said you liked the last 20 minutes of this movie. I think it's fucking phenomenal. What stands out from you here at the JVC Fest?
I mean, so yeah, he has the band go out there, and he had told them at the bar that they were going to play some old standards, Caravan, Whiplash, all the jams. And then when they get there, he says we're going to be playing, wow, what's the piece? I don't
Brand
know
new song.
Brand new song. And he goes up to him and he's like, you think I'm stupid? He's like, I know it was you. And because he said before that, if you do well here, you'll be able to, sky's the limit for where you can go. But if you do poorly, they will never forget how poorly you did. And you will be, you know, like I think Stevie said earlier, like, some of these people just stop playing music and they go, you know, after 4 years, they don't make it, they go do something else. That's kind of how it would be, but it'd be like forced.
Mm-hmm.
You screwed up. They know you screwed up. You're never going to make it. So this is brutal. This is a part where I watched the first time. I have to fast forward. Because, I mean, it's good. Don't get me wrong. It's really good, but it's like so awkward. It's white knuckle. It's, oh my God, you feel so bad for him, and you feel bad for the dad.
You feel like Andrew.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, because he's super embarrassed. He's like, he doesn't know what to do, which is weird because that's kind of a whole contradiction of this movie. Is like jazz is supposed to be like really malleable and a lot of improvising, yet literally Fletcher's all about perfection, which is kind of an oxymoron of what jazz is. But anyway, that's for the jazz people to talk about, not me. And then he embarrasses him, and he's like, what does he say? What does he say right before he walks off the stage?
I guess you just don't have it.
Yeah, okay, and that's just such a douchey thing to say. Like that's worse than, you know, cussing at him and calling him Jaime and all that stuff like that. It just cuts right to him. And he gets up, walks off the stage, goes crying into his dad's arms, and he's like, let's go. And then he turns around, he's like, you know, F that, that's not going to be the end. Like you were talking about earlier, Korey, this is him standing up to him again. He's like, I'm not going to go out like this.
It's even beyond that. It's like he seizes control over this group, right?
Yeah, he's like, I bleed for this.
I really like that. Yeah, I had forgotten some parts of this movie, and this is one I had forgotten about. I forgot that Andrew comes back and takes charge and just starts playing on his own and cues people in, and they play together. He is now both the conductor and the performer, and it's his shining moment. And the only thing I don't fully understand with the character of Fletcher is that he does start to help or encourage as it goes on for a while. You know, at first he's surprised and he's like annoyed and he's like, what are you doing?
That's one of the worst lines.
Which one?
Andrew, what are you doing, man?
What are you doing, man?
Andrew, what are you doing, man?
I'll cue you. Fuck out of here. It's a really weird line for like where the two characters are at that point.
See, I disagree because it's the first time where Fletcher's
not
unlike
comfortable.
Fletcher.
Yeah.
Well, to this point, he's never addressed him as Andrew. Not once. Not once in the whole movie. And this is like if you're like looking at two line graphs, this is like where their power dynamic is crossing, right? Is at this moment where Fletcher is really unsure.
He had lost control for like the first time all movie. He doesn't have control.
It's jarring, and it doesn't sound like the rest of his character at all, and it's very weird, but I think it's because it's like he's now looking eye to eye with someone with the first time, right? And that's, you get that by like him addressing him by his first name, Andrew. He hasn't called him Andrew once. And so it's, I don't know. I'm with you, Stevie, though. It sounds so weird.
It does sound weird.
It sounds weird in the moment, does it not?
It's like a pitch lower, too. It's
because the previous line he said to him is what, Pap?
I'll like gouge your fucking eyes out.
I will gouge your fucking eyes out.
Oh.
And you go from that to, Andrew, what are you doing, man? Like, hey, how's it going? Playing the drums? You sound kind of cool. What do you want to do with this?
How often in the last 10 years has his bullying not worked, though? So it's like the first time. So again, I'm with you. It's so weird. It's a huge change.
Well, not just that, but when he starts Caravan, though, it looks like he wants to have an aneurysm, or he's about to have an aneurysm. During it, he's like very, you can tell, like kind of just like mailing it in, like I'm gonna beat Andrew Neiman to death when we get off stage.
Oh, yeah.
And then when they're done with the song, he keeps on going. In his natural character progression, what are you doing, man? It's a weird line in that, in kind of where that falls in. I don't like. It's just a weird placement for it.
It is weird, but like I love the look of approval that he starts to get, right? Because this is what he's wanted. Not again, he's not a good guy by any means, but he's starting to realize that it actually worked in this case. And I don't know. That's where I think the movie gets interesting, right? Because it asks the question. It kind of makes you, as the viewer, ask the question: is this pursuit of greatness worth it? Korey, do you have any thoughts on that? Is this pursuit of greatness worth it? Like, does someone, not that Fletcher has a right to treat his students like that, but let's look at it from Neiman's perspective.
Well, what's Fletcher's body count? How many people had to die for this greatness?
Yeah.
One that we know of so far.
But I'm talking about from Neiman's perspective, to push away his family, to literally, turn his back on his dad in that final moment, to isolate himself from any romantic relationship, to not have any body count of his own from that perspective. Like, I don't know. What are your thoughts? Like, just more macro, more abstract. Like, is this okay to live this kind of life? Do you look down on it?
I think it's all right for someone to pursue their dream, and I'm on Andrew's side the whole movie because he is actively pursuing his dream. But I think with his work ethic and his dedication, he would have probably gotten there eventually. But this whole end scene is him fast-tracking his way to his goal,
Nice.
which I think is, maybe not being one of the greats, but at least being one of the modern greats. I mean, who's going to talk about jazz musicians from 2014, It's never going to be... those names are never going to come up. It's always going to be Buddy Rich for all time.
Right.
But that aside, I think Andrew's got it in him anyway, but this is definitely a huge leap forward for him. So maybe for him it is, I don't know. I still feel like if I were him, I would still want to punch J.K. Simmons, and I would probably do that eventually at some point.
My whole thing is, like, even if I was as talented as Andrew at anything, which I'm just straight up not, right? So it's easy for me to say, but I feel like I would always want to have balance in my life. You know what I mean? Like, interpersonal relationships would, I don't know, to say that they're, like, not even secondary, like, not even on the same list as your main passion. I feel like it's a cautionary tale from that perspective. Stevie, I want to get your thoughts on this. Is the pursuit of greatness worth it? I think you were on the Last Dance episodes.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of Michael Jordan similarities here. Like, what are your thoughts on, like, at the cost of others pursuing greatness?
Well, it depends on how you pursue greatness. Are other people expendable to you? Then I would say no. If you're someone who will use others to achieve your greatness, where they're just expendable and on to the next person, I would definitely say no. But if you just keep to yourself and you're actively pursuing them and you're not harming anybody, I mean, I think it's more than okay to pursue your dreams, like, at that level of dedication, just as long as no one else is getting hurt in the process. And I think what this movie does a fantastic job with, especially in the last scene, people can talk about the smile that Neiman and, Fletcher give one another at the end. The shining shot or sequence in this whole movie is the dad's reaction to it.
Love it.
Yeah.
Which is running out of the theater to protect his son, which is something this movie does really well with, is an attentive parent who's very protective and also supportive. But when Andrew is going off, when he's creating his own music past Caravan, the dad gives this look of just, oh my God, what is my son doing?
He finally gets it. Yep.
Because he says in the beginning, I don't understand you. And at the end, it comes together where he understands why his son is the way he is and what he's done with it. And it's such a fantastic shot where he just the camera holds on the dad. That to me is the shining, shot of the last, 10, 15 minutes, not Neiman and Fletcher.
Everything building in this last 20 minutes is just so great. And I didn't even know a drum solo could go on that long, but to make it entertaining to watch, too, it's a really great job by Damien Chazelle. The way it's edited together, the fact that he wrote this script, directed it as a directorial debut or first actual funded feature project.
Yeah.
Insane.
It's fucking insane.
Insane.
How many Oscars did this win, Brett?
3. Nominated for 5, won 3.
Really?
Best Supporting Actor, Best Sound, and Best Editing. It was nominated for Best Picture and nominated for Best Adapted Screenplay.
In a fucking stacked year 2014 was an insane year.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite years for movies ever.
Is that the Grand Budapest Hotel year?
Yep, Grand Budapest Hotel, yep.
Yeah, that was a great year.
All those great movies in frickin' Birdman.
Yeah, no shit.
Stevie, you talked to me once about like film bros, and you said like there's like a certain like generation of film bros that has emerged that started watching movies when Whiplash came out, and I'll never forget that. It's like this was their introduction to film.
No, I'm serious. Like that happened. I feel like 2014, as great as like that year was for film, it breeded a lot of stupidity of like surface level understanding of like making movies.
Speaking of surface level understanding of movies, I have always had a hard time remembering the name of this movie, and that probably will not end with this podcast. You know what I always call this movie accidentally and incorrectly? Drumline.
Drumline.
Nick Cannon special?
Nick Cannon's Drumline.
That's funny.
I'll never forget that movie cover. That's awesome.
With the drumsticks crossed in Nick Cannon.
The drumsticks cross and the supportive white guy in the back pointing at Nick Cannon. I'll never forget it.
Any other final thoughts before we close out Drumline?
Yeah, I got one.
Get the fuck out of here.
Can I read the little interview I was talking about? Okay, so first of all, people will discuss whether it's a happy ending or an unhappy ending. I think on surface level, you think, oh, it's a happy ending. They both smile at each other. They both got what they want. But like, this interview with Damien Chazelle says, where do you think these two go after this movie ends? They had a moment at the end of the film, but I feel these two will always hate each other. And he said, I think so. I think it's definitely a fleeting thing. I think there's a certain amount of damage that will always have been done. Fletcher will always think he won, and Andrew will be a sad, empty shell of a person and will die in his 30s of a drug overdose. I have a very dark view of where it goes.
All right.
He said that person said you should have put it, a postscript and at 30 he dies of a drug overdose. he said it should have been like a post-credit thing like Marvel movies.
Or like the deleted ending of Clerks.
Deleted ending of Clerks?
In the deleted ending of Clerks, the main character gets, the convenience store gets robbed and he gets shot and killed.
Oh, shit.
Other than that, I guess something to touch on rewatchables that's incredible is that, again, I don't like jazz, but like Damien Chazelle's like right-hand man like writes all this music that sounds like it's 100 years old. Like when they're at the pizza place when he says, oh, that's John blah 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 from 1933. No, it's not. That's Damien Chazelle's buddy who wrote all this, does all this music.
It's not Horowitz, is it?
That sounds familiar.
Everything that's not Caravan and Whiplash is original music
Hurwitz,
for this movie.
Yeah. Justin Hurwitz.
Okay, that is him?
Yeah.
Okay, awesome.
I want to say one thing real quick. There's a line in this movie that's said right before Fletcher walks in the studio for the first time.
Thank you. That was literally my final thought.
And maybe it's like a band meaning that I just don't know about. I didn't look it up. It takes me by surprise when I hear it. They say, "Milk the cunt!
Milk the cunt!"
Yeah, that's weird.
Well, okay, so it's Milk the Cunt, which is both in this and the short film, and I don't understand it. But even more shocking, when in both of them, when the studio band's walking in, an extra says, "Bitch had a foot fetish." And it's in the closed captions.
I know, it's a background line that's so good they carried it into the feature. It's weird.
Why? Why was that so important that it needed to be in both movies? I don't get it.
Bitch had a foot fetish.
I was gonna Google what milk the cunt meant, but I was at work when I thought of it. And I was like, I just won't take that risk, you know?
According to Miles Teller tweet, that means he was telling everyone to play middle C for tuning purposes.
Oh, that's funny.
Now you know. let's get into yes or no. I'll go first. Honestly, I'm surprised this is so high on those lists that we talked about. Number 40 on IMDb is fucking insane. Number 27 on Letterboxd, like the 27th best movie of all time. I don't know if I'd go that far, but this is still a rock hard Viggo Mortensen. Yes. As a directorial debut, I think it's the best movie Damien Chazelle has ever made. It's 100% better than La La Land, in my opinion. I haven't seen
First Man.
No, I've seen First Man. I thought it was okay. I don't remember anything about it.
Babylon.
I saw it in theaters. I haven't seen Babylon, but I don't know. The thing about Damien Chazelle is like I'm kind of tracking his movies on a downward trajectory, and not to make this negative, but
yes,
this is just such an incredible experience, right? And like when I saw it in theaters, it's just so intense. And I think my favorite review I've seen of this was on Letterboxd. Someone said this is The Devil Wears Prada for men, which is very accurate. But it's really tapping into a lot of different things and like father figure-like approval that he sees in J.K. Simmons. And at one point, even the dad's feeling a little bit betrayed by that, where he, like, you know, he's like, this guy's approval really means a lot to you. And, you know, this toxic sense of the best way to get the results out of people is to, you know, borderline violence, literal abuse, you know, verbal abuse of people. And I don't know, like maybe it doesn't even make as much sense now, but like Brett, Stevie, and I, and Josh would echo this too if he was here, like we grew up in a state where like the most famous coach was, you know, revered for screaming at people and literally throwing a chair onto the court. You know what I mean? Bob Knight threw a chair, and it's totally different. It's not the same thing. But I think there were a lot of people when we grew up who thought that there was like merit to that style of leadership. And it's definitely changed a lot. I would say more so in the 10 years since this movie came out than it did in like the 50 years before that, maybe even. But man, I fucking love this movie. And none of us are jazz heads, but this makes jazz like very compelling and interesting just from like the way that it's shot, right? Like, again, not to harp on Tar, but this brings out the best of the music and combining it with film in a way that I really, really like. I hope Damien Chazelle can make another movie as good as Whiplash. He's still super young. He's got a lot of movies left in him. But man, this is like probably my second favorite movie of the year. I still would have given it to Grand Budapest Hotel, but man, what a fucking debut. Rock hard Viggo Mortensen, yes. We'll stick to our initial order. Stevie.
Oh, man. Korey, thanks for reminding me of that line of, you know, this movie bred a lot of film bros just at the start. When film bros started watching film. I think this movie is fantastic. It takes a subject that I don't much care for, which is jazz, and makes it extremely interesting. I also appreciate how this movie really explains like how toxic J.K. Simmons truly is. And quite frankly, I just love the way this movie is shot. I mean, the camera angles, the quick editing, there's a lot of snappy dialogue in this. And this movie runs at a clip, thank goodness. It's not like a 2.5 hour ode to jazz, or, you know, like Korey says, jazz is dying, let's save it. It's just this little, you know, year snapshot of a kid trying to, you know, achieve his dream with a, you know, a psychotic teacher in the way. And I think it's a great movie. I'll give this a rock hard Viggo Mortensen, yes.
What are some of your criticisms about it? Get into them a little bit. I feel like there's some, you're holding back a bit.
Do you remember what I told you today? I'm trying to remember. There was a few. Definitely the dinner scene I didn't care for. Dinner scene with the family I didn't care for. I hate the bar scene of, you know, 2 most harmful words in the English language, or good job. Because I feel like some people took that as like, oh yeah, when they should be going, dude, like fuck off.
More harmful than the F word?
I feel like a lot of smooth brain people would be like, you know, they hear that quote and be like, oh, he's right. Like, yeah, definitely. Like, oh, he's right.
Yeah, I would say it's calling someone a cock-sucking F-slur is way worse than telling someone good job.
Telling somebody, hey, like, good job, that's great. Or like, hey, you're not quite there yet, but you're really getting it. Like, keep focusing. Keep going. Also, I don't love Miles Teller's character all the time, which is probably, you know, the way the movie's supposed to be laid out anyway. It's probably a me thing more than anybody. Or more like anything with the writing or directing, but yeah, some of the criticisms, some scenes could probably be cut. Also, I don't like that car accident scene all that much. It kind of comes out of the realm of just not really all that believable. But other than that, yeah, amazing movie.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, when Whiplash is Whiplash, it's a 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
But I don't love the times when it like shifts down a little bit. But Korey?
All right, this is Korey, Kylo Ren memes. This movie is such a yes. It's such a great movie. I was so engaged watching this in a way that I am often not, especially when I'm reviewing movies like A Kid in King Arthur's Court, you know? It's like, gotta get through this bitch.
All right, let's do it.
This one I'm into, though. I forgot how good this movie is. I should rewatch some movies that are really great. I should rewatch the 2014 Oscar nominees, including Birdman, because I remember really liking that too.
I liked Birdman.
I like Birdman.
I didn't hate it. They're better movies.
So, you know, this movie is intense, and it gives me a lot of feelings, right? Like, oh, this motherfucker, like rage and like empathy and just like, you know, I want to reach through the screen sometimes, and that's a good thing. You know, this movie really does what it's trying to do. It's amazing to me that they this short that they made first, what's his name, Damien Chazelle. The short that Damien Chazelle made first is also great. The fact that that was taken and made into a feature is amazing. That scene, though, that the short comes from is like my favorite scene. Like, that's amazing. I actually sat my wife down and just showed her the scene from the movie that originated from the short. And I just think it's so powerful. There's so much emotions going on and so much like up and down, and you don't know what to expect. And the tension just drives you through the fucking wall. I love that kind of shit. We talked about the gold sheen in this movie. I was trying to give it some thought because I saw a video on YouTube that I didn't watch. I just saw that it existed, and it said Whiplash if it wasn't yellow.
The Mexico tint.
So they made this movie this color for a reason in most of the scenes, and pretty much every scene that involves the playing of music. And looking at the movie now, like, I don't see a lot of use of technology in the movie. So it almost kind of feels like it's meant to be like a sepia tone on top of the movie to kind of give it like an old-timey vibe. So I think kind of that's what I get from that, and I like that. I think the movie is acted perfectly. It's wonderful. It's directed perfectly. It's edited masterfully. It's just a fucking great movie. It's amazing. I love it. Even though I don't like jazz, and I think jazz is stupid. And people that talk about jazz are annoying. At least they are in these movies. But yeah, that's okay. It's still a great movie.
And you had a shout out, too, that you wanted to give, right? To one of our friends of the pod?
Loyal patron, Total Movie Recall, a.k.a. Brother Ellis. He's a good friend of mine.
Ellis.
He's an awesome dude. I'm hoping by the time this episode is released, by the time our listeners are listening to us talk about Whiplash here, Total Movie Recall has an episode out with me. A very long episode. I think we went over 4 hours on this podcast. We reviewed all of the Fox X-Men movies.
Oh, shit.
And we did it on video. So you can see my lovely face on the Total Movie Recall YouTube channel exclusively. It's kind of hard to find this podcast because of the name is Total Movie Recall. So if you type Total Movie Recall, you get a bunch of clips from the movie Total Recall. So here's how you find this channel. Do a search for Total Movie Recall Podcast. If you do that exact search, you'll get Brother Ellis's channel, and hopefully one of his latest videos, or the latest video, should be us talking about the X-Men franchise, which is a franchise that is so dear to my heart. So thank you, Pappy, for giving me the opportunity to shout out our brother, Ellis.
He appeared on the Dark City podcast, I believe. We should definitely have him on again. But last but not least, host of Sin City, Brett.
All right. Humor me here. I have a few things to add that could be considered final thoughts. First of all, I know you kind of touched on it, but the difference between Bob Knight and J.K.'s character is I bet 99% of the players that played for Bob Knight would go to battle for him, love him, and appreciate what he did for them. It's the opposite for Fletcher. I mean, again, he started to get worse as he got older, and the game changed and everything, but his players love him and everything like that, so that's where I'd say that was different. But he was unhinged. Secondly, there are a few movies that we've spoiled that are ahead of Whiplash on the letterbox list, but it's not that many. Have we done Everything Everywhere?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, Return of the King, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, Spirited Away, 12 Angry Men, and that's it. I cannot believe freaking Parasite's number 2. But anyway, that's a different conversation for a different day. I know you guys know that or at least some of you, that I got a scratch-off poster from my wife, and every time we watch one, I have her put it in order of, it's like, we've watched like 60 of them. And her bottom 3 from last is Spirited Away, Rocky, Whiplash. So, and then Jaws, which hurts me. Very much so.
Spirited Away, so good.
But she gets to a point where she likes these movies, but she does not like Whiplash, she does not like Rocky, and...
What?
I don't know.
I get it.
It's a guy movie, plus, the rape.
Just a little rape.
Just a little. Just light kidnapping.
It's just the Dennis system in full effect.
Okay, it's the implication. He wouldn't really hurt it, but, the implication. Okay, and then lastly... Oh, man, I had one more thing, but I forgot. So I guess I'll just do what I was going to do. Oh, yeah, Pappy said something to me a few years ago that we argued about. I don't know if Korey will back me up or not, but Pappy and I argued one time. You said, you think Whiplash is better than anything Christopher Nolan ever did. And you said it to me once when we were
I don't know if I think that anymore.
We were doing trivia.
Hell no, bro.
I love me some Interstellar, man.
Me too.
It's better than Interstellar.
By the way, hey, Korey,
100%.
Stevie, you want to know what the number 1 movie on Brittany's list is? Interstellar.
There you go. That's all I need to know.
Of all those movies we watched, Interstellar's number 1.
Yeah.
Korey, were you going to back me up on that, or?
Dude, I'm a nerd.
I know.
You think I'm going to say that this is better than The Dark Knight? You got another thing coming?
No, okay, I'm with you. Okay, Pappy, I didn't mean to bust you out, but you said that once, and you said you don't know if you feel that way anymore, so that's cool. That being said, this movie's not as rewatchable because it's hard to watch, but this is probably my first or second favorite movie of that year, second or third. It's unbelievable to me. The more I learn about J.K. Simmons' character, I think it's one of the best performances ever in a movie. He's an unbelievable villain. I think it's a great movie. It's technically not Chazelle's debut, but it's definitely like his first feature film, and he's in his 20s. It's phenomenal. By the way, Babylon is a 3-hour mess. I did not like it that much. It's hard to get through. Hard, yes. I'm glad you picked this, Pat.
Like I said, I think Damien Chazelle stonks. Trending down. I don't know. I hope he turns it.
Yeah, it's so unfair, though, I mean, like, he made such a great first movie. It's hard to say that La La Land...
The thing of it is, this is pretty even with La La Land. It's not like this is like a way better movie. I should watch La La Land again. It's right there.
Good movie, for sure, man. La La Land, great.
They'll write books about it someday.
Someday.
Stevie says. And maybe that will be the next pick. Almost certainly not. But to decide that...
Jazz is dying, Pat.
We have... Speaking of jazz, that's going to be one of the categories in Poor Man's Jeopardy.
This is Jeopardy!
So I'm sending over to the boys give access.
I cannot
Editor.
believe someone other than me and Brett is doing Poor Man's Jeopardy.
I've done Jeopardy before, and I made this Google Sheet blue.
Oh, fun.
To match,
I
Jeopardy.
love
It's
that.
almost
Where should I look?
lookable.
Where's it at?
I put it in the thread here. So while you guys
Car accidents.
pull that up,
The thread on the chat or on Skype?
the Google chat. I can put it on Skype if you need.
Nope, that's right. I got it. Perfect.
I see the guys coming in. I'll read the categories for you, the audience, while they populate. The categories are jazz, car accidents, drum, in quotation marks. Answers contain the word drum, mean people, and back in black, famous for dressing in black. So there's 5 categories, a 1, 2, and a 3-pointer.
Are these movie related?
Can't say. Some might be.
I think one's going to be political as shit.
Stevie, it's hard to believe. I think you've hosted the most episodes of Spoilers history, but it's been a while. So I'll let you choose the order. The default order here is you, Korey, Brett, based on most recent host. Would you like to make any changes to that? There is an advantage to going last, but there's definitely an advantage to going first as well.
We can't steal in Poor Man's. I'll go last.
Okay. So
Then you can decide the order from there. I don't care.
Then we'll just move everybody up one. So Korey, then Brett, then Stevie. Okay. Korey, the board is yours.
I'm kind of a Poor Man's Jeopardy aficionado, and I think we have too many categories, but I'm not. I'm
No.
doing the math here.
It's
Hold
worth
on.
it.
Just enough.
All right, that's fine.
5 questions each. I love it.
As long as you have 3 in each, the math works out. Divisible by 3.
Drum for 1.
Drum for 1. This name for the lower joint of a chicken leg can be grilled, baked, or deep fried. Pappy likes his extra crispy.
That last part kind of gives it away. What is a drumstick?
Correct.
Not movie related, Korey. Sorry.
That was the tester.
Brett.
Okay, I will do car accidents for 2.
This 20th century car's controversial design flaw made it apt for explosions, causing 1.5 million vehicle recalls in 1978.
What is the Ford Pinto?
Correct for 2. Stevie?
Let's go with mean people for 3.
Ooh.
This Ugandan guerrilla group leader gained notoriety in the early 2010s for his use of child soldiers. Look out for him in 2012.
Jeez.
Dude, this is like... Remember that summer when it took over?
Mm-hmm.
It was like Find... what was his name? Dude... okay, I'm gonna go through. I was gonna say Tony, but I know it's not Tony. So I think it was. Was it Coney? What is Coney?
Joseph Coney. Coney 2012.
Thank God.
Wow, nice. I had no freaking idea.
I was gonna say Find Tony, but I knew it wasn't Tony because that's Kill Tony. So yeah, awesome.
Parodied in the South Park episode. The scores are 1, 2, and 3. Korey?
Back in Black for 1.
This American singer-songwriter, known for hits like I Walk the Line and Ring of Fire, was played by Joaquin Phoenix in 2005.
Well, it's not Dewey Cox.
Close.
But I think it's somewhat related to Dewey Cox.
Unless it tastes like Cox.
Who is Johnny Cash?
Correct. Movie related.
How much was that for?
1.
That was a
Oh, I
fiver.
thought that was just 3. I was like, you kidding me?
That was Double Jeopardy.
Brett?
Or that was a... I'm sorry, that was a Daily Double.
I will take car accidents for 3. Oh, stupid.
This Ford sedan, introduced in 2006, was named the most accident-prone car, with 16% of vehicles sold involved in a crash.
Pappy, would you know the answer to this? If, like, Would you just know it?
Can I guess it if Brett gets it wrong?
I wouldn't. Well, I'll wait.
Say it again, please.
This Ford sedan, first introduced in 2006, was named the most accident-prone car, with 16% of vehicles sold involved in a crash.
You don't have to answer this, but is the name a little ironic?
I can't say.
I will just guess the Ford Focus.
Unfortunately, Stevie, you want to guess?
The Ford Fiesta.
Korey?
I have no idea.
The Ford Fusion. I didn't know it, but my girlfriend got it right.
The Focus is such a good guess. I didn't even think about that.
I thought it was like a perfect ironic.
I instantly went to the Fiesta.
Stevie, take a commanding lead.
He's up by 1 point.
Corey's so bitter.
Motherfucker.
I said he could take a commanding lead. I thought you said.
Oh. Well, yeah. That's going to happen right now.
I'll take Back in Black for 2.
Utah.
Back in Black for 2. This star of the Blue Collar Comedy Tour has an ironic last name given his choice in wardrobe. He also loves to drink.
Oh, do I have to say his first and last name?
Yes.
Ah, fucker.
Yeah, I just know the last name.
Yeah, I got it. It's who is Ron White?
Correct. I haven't been keeping track of the who is what is, but yes, Ron White.
He's the Scotch Guard guy.
Tater salad.
Tater salad.
They also call me Tater Salad.
Corey 2, Brett -1, Stevie 5. This might be getting out of hand after this round. Corey?
Well, I'll try to catch up with Stevie. So I will go with...
Let's go.
Drum for 3.
Good choice. This leader of a marching band is responsible for keeping tempo, directing formations, and ensuring the band's organization and structure.
Say again?
This leader of a marching band is responsible for keeping tempo, directing formations, and ensuring the band's organization and structure.
I actually don't know the answer to this.
I have a guess.
Go ahead.
Drum major?
It would have been drum major, yes.
That counts for me, right?
Well, maybe. Brett?
Oh, man. I'll go... This is going to make or break me. I'll go Back in Black for 3.
This American stand-up comedian, known for his neurotic and self-deprecating style, starred in the television sitcom Anything But Love, and has appeared in 44 episodes of Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Who is J.B. Smoove?
Richard Lewis.
You didn't throw in a Princess Bride clue? Or not, Men in Tights, that's what it is.
Yeah, Men in Tights, he was...
Gosh dang it, of course.
King Richard, I think.
Don't know why I was thinking black guy.
Yeah, that would have been a controversial use of the category.
I don't think Pappy was going to be doing that on that category.
The funny thing is J.B. Smoove's character at Curb Your Enthusiasm is named Leon Black.
But
It's a good guess.
He's definitely not self-deprecating. I should have known better. Well, this is fun.
Stevie?
He's a part of the Big Johnson Club. Okay, one sec. What's left?
You have Mean People for 1 and 2, Drum for 2, Car Accidents for 1, and the entire category of jazz.
I want to do Drum for 2. I want to see what you did with this one. I'm going to be really mad if you didn't involve something I think you should have.
I think you might know it. This 2002 romance / drama stars Nick Cannon and Zoe Saldana.
Oh, God.
He's hilarious.
Nick Cannon, he's hilarious.
He's hilarious. And has 13 kids now. What is Drumline?
That is correct. I think it's over.
I should get the point for that one, though. I mean...
Play it out.
Play it out.
Play it out. All right. Round 4. Corey.
Okay. Jazz for 3, baby.
Oh, taking out any shot for me. Thanks.
This Philadelphia native was born Elorena Fagan Gao and is known for her songs Solitude and Strange Fruit.
Oh, I know it.
Eleonora Fagan-Gao, Solitude and Strange Fruit.
I realize I don't know any jazz musicians.
That might be a disadvantage in this category.
Yeah, that's probably a bad one.
Dang it, I would have gotten this, I think.
I don't know. Who is Fiona Apple?
Billie Holiday.
Billie Holiday would have been correct. Yeah. Brett?
Mean People for 2.
This American comedian and television personality hosted her daytime talk show from 2003 to 2022. She also voiced a forgetful fish in 2003 and 2016.
Who is Ellen DeGeneres?
Correct.
The not so generous.
Next to Joseph Kony. Stevie.
What's left? So, drum's gone, right?
Yeah, drums gone, car accidents for 1, jazz for 1 and 2, and mean people for 1.
Well, let's go Mean People for 1.
So remember, the previous answers were Ellen DeGeneres and Joseph Kony. Nicknamed the Führer, this German dictator played a major part in World War II. Not a good person.
Who is Adolf Hitler?
Correct. Rounding out round 5, it's all but over. Korey?
Car accidents for 1.
Known as the Intimidator, this NASCAR driver drove the number 3 car and
Too
died in
soon.
an accident February 18th, 2001.
Daytona.
Who is Dale Earnhardt Jr.?
Oh, I'm sorry. Dale Earnhardt Sr.
He was trying to help Junior win.
I don't know anything about that shit. That's the one name I know.
Didn't he get a rod through his neck?
I think so. If he would have had the Heineken or Haynes device, he would have lived.
Yeah.
All right. Brett.
Jazz for 2.
Nicknamed the Prince of Darkness, this famous jazz trumpeter is known for albums Kind of Blue and Bitches Brew.
Who is Miles Davis?
Correct.
If pee in your pants is cool,
That's what I was
consider
gonna
me
say.
Miles Davis.
Literally, the only thing I know about him is that he has a pee in his pants reference in Billy Madison.
Stevie for 1. Fitting. Stevie Wonder referenced this famous jazz pianist in his song Sir Duke. Fun fact, he was born in the 1800s and is also a Freemason.
Duke Ellington? Who was Duke Ellington?
Who is Duke Ellington is correct. Leaving a final score of Korey -5, Brett 0, and Stevie with a commanding 9.
There we go.
Back to losing poor man's Jeopardy.
We'll let you think about what you want to pick, but first we'll toss it to Spoiler Man. Take it away, Spoiler Man.
Special thank you to our patrons. Matt Troll.
I think I'm gonna start calling you Flannery.
Brother Brian.
You got 10 minutes, you fucking pathetic pansy-ass fruit fuck.
Druid King.
By a bunch of fucking limp dick sour note flattered on their girlfriend's flexible tempo dipshits. Got it?
Nick.
One more thing. Eugene, give me that. If I ever find one of these lying around again, I swear to fucking God,
The Meg.
I will stop being so polite. Get the fuck out of my sight before I demolish you.
Nurse Stacy.
Why do you suppose I just hurled a chair at your head, Neiman?
The Wolf.
The folder is your fucking responsibility, Tanner. Why would you give it to
Spencer?
Right? You give a calculator to a fucking retard, he's gonna try to turn on a TV with it.
Barky 420.
You never earned anything. God, you are a self-righteous prick.
PK.
Is that really the fastest you can play, you worthless Jaime fuck?
Gale.
Were you rushing or were you dragging?
Swole.
If you need to fucking take a dump or get a coffee, whatever, now might be a good time because we're gonna stay here until I find a drummer who can fucking play in time.
If you'd like to request an episode, hear your name read by Spoiler Man, or even just help us make podcasts, please check us out on patreon.com/spoilerspodcast. Be sure to check out Korey's podcast, Big Dumb Movie. Our email is podcastspoilers@gmail.com. Twitter is @spoilers_pod. Our Instagram is Podcast Spoilers. It's lit. Josh Hensley from the Rutabaga wrote our theme song. Please support this podcast by leaving us an iTunes review.
And we're back. To decide what we'll pick next week, Stevie gave us a little clue. It has 2 titles. Is it Birdman?
No, this came out
Is it
in
Salo?
this came out in the late 80s. And like, I have an amazing boss. He's really cool. And he came up to me one day and he's like, "Hey, They play this sport in Germany called Jugger. And it's based off a movie from the 80s. And it has Rutger Hauer and Vincent D'Onofrio. Did I say his name right? D'Onofrio has him too. In this movie, it goes by 2 titles. It's either going to be called The Blood of Heroes or The Salute of the Jugger. Came out in 1989. I'm really excited to spoil this movie because I've never seen it, and it looks like Mad Max with lacrosse.
I like it. I like the variety that you get in this podcast, from Whiplash to, what was it called? The Blood of Heroes?
Or Salute of the Jugger.
Well, tune in next week-ish to hear that. Thank you for listening. That was Spoilers.
You corrupted my game of movie-related questions.
I had Drumline. Drumline's
You corrupted my beautiful game.
I thought you were going to ask us what Donald Trump's real last name was.
I just want to point out that the mean people were Hitler, Joseph Kony, and Ellen DeGeneres.
That's amazing.
I was really proud of that.
That's amazing.
Beauty.
Stevie, you ready?
Yeah, this movie has 2 titles, so I'm really excited to read it.
Okay.
I like a folder.
That was Spoilers.